Shalom. Before I start this lesson, I'd like to first and foremost, as always, give all honor, glory, and praise to our Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rechakwadash. Double honors to our venerated apostles and elders of Great Millstone, taught us His truth, and who rule well, and are the true leaders of the nation of Israel, which consists of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad. I'm the brother Shamar back with another quick lesson, right? And this just being a land back, okay, of a lesson the elder Alma Gabar had done, speaking on the new variant that's been circling around. Okay, and I did a lesson on it in my last lesson. And there's a lot of information coming out on what you see on the screen right here. Okay, and the timing is impeccable. All right, here it is. You have this new strain popping up. Okay, Trump supposedly, see, they're playing a mind game with people. All right, what Trump has done with this whole withdrawal from the WHO, he initiated the process, but that hasn't taken effect just yet. All right, and I'm gonna get into it. But you had this, the World Health Assembly, all right, adopted a pandemic agreement on May 20th, 2025, which is an international legal agreement designed to strengthen global pandemic preparedness and response. This agreement, forgive me, I'm still kind of fighting this, sickness, which is an international legal agreement designed to strengthen global pandemic preparedness and response. This agreement, negotiated under Article 19 of the WHO Constitution, is the second such agreement after the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. The agreement aims to ensure equitable access to pandemic-related health products and prevent future pandemics by promoting collaboration and information sharing among countries. All right, and one of the points the elder I brought out was you had that devil, Bill Gates, which said, years back that there would be another pandemic, okay? And he said it would get a lot of people's attention, and just recently this devil, Bill Gates, sat at dinner with Donald Trump, I believe, and dealing with Donald Trump coming with that executive order to withdraw the U.S. from the WHO. So, I use ChatGPT to look this up. And so I asked, did the U.S. pay its mandatory WHO contributions before Trump withdrew the U.S. from it? Or has it truly withdrawn from the WHO? And it reads, as of June 2025, the United States has formally initiated its withdrawal from the WHO, but the process is not yet complete. Under U.S. law, specifically 22 U.S.C. 290C, withdrawal requires a 1-year notice period and the settlement of all financial obligations to the WHO before the withdrawal can take effect. It says President Donald Trump, and Trump tried to do this back in 2020, and when Biden came in, he pretty much undid it. Which now, forgive me, now he's trying to do the same thing in his second term. And like as I remember, the apostle Tahar had said, it isn't gonna work that way, But again, dealing with this whole resurgence of this new CV strain, the timing is impeccable. All right, the timing is impeccable, man, and it could be in the near, coming weeks. So we'll see that they could lock shit down again. All right, they could run with the whole same playbook. The whole 2020 thing. All right, with the CV, the first, you know, pandemic. But it says President Donald Trump signed an executive order on January 20th, 2025, to commence this process, with the withdrawal set to become effective in January 2026. You see? So in between now and then, we're only a couple months in. A lot can happen. All right. And they could very well lock things up, quickly. Push, even Disease X is still being spoken of. Disease X is still in the news. Which is a placeholder name, right? It says right here, AI overview, Disease X. Disease X is a placeholder term used by the World Health Organization to represent a hypothetical unknown pathogen that could potentially cause a global pandemic. It serves as a reminder to healthcare professionals and policymakers to be prepared for emerging infectious diseases. Purpose of the term: highlight the need for ongoing surveillance and preparedness for unknown pathogens. All right, and peep that word there, surveillance. Because what could that go into? All right, biometric technologies. It says preparedness for unknown pathogens, the development of more of them jabs, man. Okay. And remember Trump's Operation Warp Speed, so we're trying to rapidly develop the jabs. It says encourage research and development of diagnostic tools, vaccines, and treatments for potential future outbreaks. Promote international collaboration and information sharing to respond effectively to emerging infectious disease threats. See? And they've been speaking on this, okay? Let me see. This is still in talks. Disease X coming. WHO's Replicon plan looks like doom. All right. And remember how big CV was when it hit, okay? The amount of spending that went into it, the strain it put on the economy, all right? The technologies that were budding forth, all right? The cashless payment system and so on and so forth. And we always said that it was a precursor to the chip, So maybe this will be the, one if not the catalyst, all right, to, streamline the chip, man. The mandation of the RFID microchip, okay? This is Disease X is the World Health Organization's open-ended excuse for the next global emergency. See, they need that emergency, all right? Crises, to come with their solution. For the next, Disease X is the World Health Organization's open-ended excuse for the next global emergency, and thanks to our ties, America may be forced to comply, whether we like it or not. See, people, the scriptures tell you to never trust thine enemy. All right, now I got it right here. Okay. First, 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we're not ignorant of his devices. Okay. Ecclesiasticus 12:10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Because iron, it oxidizes, it rusts. And as it says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou had wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust had not been altogether wiped away. Because you may abrade that rust, you may try to buff out the rust from that iron, all right, and it'll come right back, okay? Basically, Esau's wickedness is always going to show, because he's always been the wicked, man, all right? But it says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. Yeah, because you'll tell you one thing, all right? Tell you something smooth, give you devices that please your ears, all right? Tell people what they want to hear, okay? Because people know how, people knew what was up, all right? A lot of people found out too late, okay? Once they, were coerced and beguiled into taking the jabs, a lot of them fell ill. A lot of them had heart complications, blood, nasty blood work. All right. A lot of people were waking up to, what these devils had done. All right. And you got a lot of people getting sick right now. All right, I was just having a conversation with my broad about how out here in NYC, last year around this time, it was warmer, coming into June. It was a lot warmer over here. It's feeling like a winter. I perceive it might be that them cloud seeding and weather manipulation, But you got a lot of people getting sick around this time. I myself, it just came down with something, recently. I'm feeling much better now. But what a coincidence, man, that this new strain is popped up and now they're talking about it, right? You're likely going to hear more about it. More cases popping up here in the U.S., all right? And it could be the whole narrative all over again. The same playbook with the whole CV back in 2020. All right? And here it is. Yeah, they made it seem as though they were going to withdraw from the WHO and is placed on the sea lockdowns and so on and so forth. But let me go back to that article. All right, let me read that again. Ecclesiasticus 12:11. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust had not been altogether wiped away. From Blaze Media, Disease X is the World Health Organization's open-ended excuse for the next global emergency. And thanks to our ties, America may be forced to comply whether we like it or not. Why? Because this is what they're saying. This is from The Lancet back in August 2020. The U.S. withdrawal from WHO is unlawful and threatens global and U.S. health and security. On May 29, 2020, President D.J. Trump announced the USA would sever its relationship with the WHO and redirect its funds to U.S. global health priorities. Let me see. It says the U.S. administration's decision to sever ties and terminate WHO funding violates a binding condition in Congress's 1948 resolution, which must be met before the USA may withdraw. The law mandates the USA must pay its financial obligations for the current fiscal year, because withdrawal could not occur until next July, and this is back then, okay? And then you had Biden come in, and that was, practically undone, all right? But now that Trump is back, he proposed it again. But as I'm going to read, it says on Monday, May 5th, 2025, right? President Trump signed an executive order banning dangerous gain of function biological research in the United States and around the world. This directive added muscle to his previous decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization. However, the United States remains vulnerable to international control. On January 30, 2020, Tedros Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization, announced a public health emergency of international concern. With these magic words, Tedros put into force the WHO's international health regulations that supercharged the WHO into a one-world government health agency with the legal authority to declare pandemic sovereignty over all member nations, including the United States. Tedros, as he is known, was born in Ethiopia and is not a medical doctor. Still, he is a Marxist and member of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, a group the Ethiopian government has classified as a terrorist organization. So Tedros, by extension, is not only a Marxist, but he's also a terrorist. And really, they all serve the interests of the elite banking families of Esau. It's a lot. I want to scroll down a little bit. It's a lot. It says on January 20th, 2025, President Trump finally withdrew the United States from the WHO. Under terms of the WHO Constitution, however, America's involvement will not end officially until January 23, 2026. It says, enter the Pentagon's Defense Health Agency. The DHA monitors jab creation and communicable diseases and determines disease origination. The DHA uses the CDC for guidance, and its influenza division provides leadership for the detection and control of influenza in the United States and around the world. More importantly, the DHA still remains a vital partnership with the WHO in collaboration that includes expanding military biodefense jab manufacturing. This could become especially alarming if the world faces Disease X, which again, that's a placeholder name for, it's going to tell you right here, a future pandemic. Disease X is a generic term WHO uses to refer to an anticipated but unspecified future pandemic. That future may be now. Our research suggests that Disease X has already been weaponized and released in the form of a gain-of-function enhanced version of CV19 that is more contagious and possibly more lethal than its predecessor. A new jab to combat the next pandemic includes a replicon that continues to reproduce the active ingredient of the virus spike protein throughout a patient's body, even after the patient is dead. Replicon is a self-amplifying mRNA technology that copies itself and crosses between species. There is no known antidote that can stop the replicon from propagating the pathogenic CV19 spike protein. The sword, man. Alright? It's part of Esau's weaponry. Okay? So, here it is. Yeah, this new strain. NB181, new CV variant growing rapidly across the globe, detected in the U.S. The new variant NB181 has been labeled a variant under monitoring by the World Health Organization. So could this be Disease X? All right. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory once again to our Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachakodash. Double honors to our venerated apostles and elders of great millstone and taught us the truth and rule well. And peace and blessings to the elect. Until the next I say, Shalom.